The fact that the Elizabeth Taylor family has given us this collection to take to the market is an enormous honor, and we take it with a great amount of pride and, of course, great seriousness. And at the same time, we're very joyous about it because it's one of the great collections in the world.
This is not just a jewelry auction. It's the auction of Elizabeth Taylor. It's one of the world's most beautiful collections of jewelry. And then there's the romance behind every single piece. You know, it was given by Richard Burton, by Mike Todd, and there was so much pleasure in the way she received every jewel, and there's so much emotion in each and every one of them. 80 pieces comprise the first auction in the evening, and that has probably the most sensational, the legendary, the romantic jewels. Pieces from Bulgari, pieces from Cartier, Boucheron, Van Cleef & Arpels, you know, the great Elizabeth Taylor diamond. It's a 33 carat D color, which is the best, and as white as can be, a diamond, internally flawless. Jewelry was a way of life for her, and there were times when they would go into jewelry stores and see what the jewelers had to offer, and there were times when she wanted to have jewelry made for her because of one reason or the other. Richard Burton would go to the store with her and spend the entire afternoon at Bulgari in Rome when they were filming Cleopatra. Nicola Bulgari and Paolo Bulgari said Richard Burton used to wait to see the emotion in her eyes because then he knew if she really liked the jewelry. But every time someone bought her a gift, every time she bought something, was a great occasion.
The thing that makes Elizabeth Taylor's fashion collection very special is that she was a superstar before superstars had to have stylists. She didn't have stylists or designers waiting in hotel rooms for her to choose clothes. She actually went and bought the most beautiful clothes and kept them brilliantly afterwards. As her life developed, so did the clothes, from the great sort of Dior evening dresses of the 60s, when she was doing some pretty grand stuff in Hollywood and wherever, to the 70s when it's caftan and big diamonds. So it's kind of fun, and it's someone's history in the drape of a dress, but it's also pretty much the history of fashion over the last 60 years. There are certain key designers in this collection. Dior to start with, and Dior in the 60s was fabulous. It had the best workrooms in Paris. The couture was magical. Beaded, embellished. I love the word embellished, you know, embellished with an inch of its life. In the 70s, she goes on a kind of bit of a magical mystery hippie tour. There was a designer in England called Thea Porter who lurked in a sort of very curious, it looked like a Moroccan hookah joint in London Soho, and she used to make beautiful caftans out of antique materials. I mean, they were exquisite. Then Miss Taylor discovers Michael Volbracht, an American designer, who had a big relationship in what he did with artists of the time, Andy Warhol, Keith Haring and Basquiat, and that's a very interesting capsule collection. And then we go to Milan and we have Versace doing beaded Elizabeth jackets, beaded Cleopatra jackets. She goes off on side swipes to Chanel from time to time. Lots of Valentino, dating to her time in Rome as Cleopatra, lots of Valentino. So it's the big designers of the late 20th century. She used to go to the collections like very rich women at the time. They'd then make the dress in whatever colour she wanted, because that's what couture's all about. And they'd make sure that perhaps she was the only one in America with that dress. You don't want two women turning up at Chasen's or the Macambo or whatever wearing the same white deal with gold beading, do you? So
it's a big production. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. From the moment we get the jewelry until the day it's hammered down on that rostrum and moved on to the new owner, there's tremendous work that goes behind it. There's a great team that we have here, from the administrators, the catalogers, the shipping coordinator, the safe coordinator who makes sure that everything comes into the vault every night.
A decision was made early on to approach it almost by decade, if you will. That wasn't a strict guideline, but at least that helped us in wrapping our head around how and where we start. We'll try to give you an insight as to what her style looked like, how she was dressing during certain periods of time in her life, and it would be like going to see a museum exhibition, except at an auction house. My expectations are that it gives you an insight into what her life was like through all these decades. I want it to be very elegant, respectful, befitting not only an iconic American film star, but also an incredible mother, a humanitarian. All of those women sort of rolled into one. And I think the key to doing or creating this exhibition is something that addresses each and every one of those issues and doesn't rely on something gimmicky. A number of the garments were photographed on Miss Taylor, so we're fortunate enough to have that sort of a record. There's an amazing crew here of Christie's people going through stacks and stacks of family photographs, trade magazines, photo albums, looking for photographs of Miss Taylor wearing a lot of the fashion that we have here.
For example, we have this piece, so we've flagged it, and you can see it throughout. We have this dress. We now know that she wore it to the Golden Globes.
It's quite an eclectic collection. Lots of variety, lots of sequins, beads, quite blingy colours, lots of different types of skins and leathers. So it's challenging because of the volume. There are over 300 bags, all grouped into different lots. There are many different designers, so we've got Valentino, Gucci, Dior, Louis Vuitton, and I have to go back through and work out what collections they're from and date them. Everything is in really good condition, actually. It looks like she only sort of wore things once. So she'd have one bag for one outfit and a pair of shoes, and she just wore it for one occasion, and then it went back in a box or storage. It's pretty much perfect.
I think the main objective is for people to grasp and be very mindful of the most beautiful image I can remember of Elizabeth Taylor. What we started doing with the collection was essentially designing the identity. And then that identity gets applied to many different elements. So elements that have been designed that go from as small as the tags that go attached to the jewelry pieces, and also the fashion items that are going to be on display and they are going to be on tour, to the catalog general style, the box that is going to be holding the catalogs. The identity has been also applied to actually the photo shoots. The photo shoots that we have been developing with several teams just to be included in the catalogs, in the shows as well. And then we will be looking at work, or that identity has also is going to be applied to the work that we are doing for the exhibitions, for tours and for the largest exhibition in New York.
We work into the marketing of the sale, advertising, media, print media, and so there's all of this going on. We look into shipping the items now to locations at Christie's worldwide. Clients come in, meet with a specialist, ask his or her advice on what a particular jewel is worth, what it is that one should pay for it, why is it good, why is it maybe better than the next one out there. I think it's paramount because Elizabeth Taylor was a global icon. You can go and ask anybody in any part of the world who Elizabeth Taylor was, and they all knew her.
I think Elizabeth Taylor is unforgettable because it's a big life for a start. She just was, in Burton's words, just breathtakingly beautiful. She was famous for being herself, larger than life, more beautiful than anyone, more scandals, more fun, more guts, more. More is more. She said. She was right.